The Medicaid cuts under Trump care would be just an absolute catastrophe. So some people who need it to survive are speaking out and protesting and getting involved. So let's watch a segment here. This is Ari Melber on MSNBC. He spoke to somebody who's affected by this. Check it out.
Protesters who gathered outside of Senator McConnell's office on Thursday, most of them didn't say, and you may have seen these dramatic images, most of them didn't say they were political activists. They didn't describe themselves as Obama allies. A lot of them said they were Americans who received their health care through Medicaid. And they said they want to be heard from before the Republican Congress makes these drastic cuts to Medicaid. Now, Michael Phillips could not protest outside of Senator McConnell's office, but he did send out this tweet that got a lot of notice saying, "Hi, my name is Michael Phillips. I live at home because of a Medicaid waiver. Don't cut Medicaid. Don't take away my home." Joining us now on The Last Word is Mike Phillips, who's living with a spinal muscular atrophy and who stands to lose Medicaid benefits under the potential Senate health care discussion bill. We're also joined by his mom, Karen Clay, who is his full-time caregiver. Thank you both, Karen and Mike, for being here. Starting with you, Karen, how do you see this issue and why was it important for both of you to speak out?
Medicaid is called a lifeline, but for people like my son, Medicaid is a life. Through a Medicaid waiver, we are enabled to keep Mike at home and to care for him by a family who loves him and who knows his needs best. If you take away Medicaid from individuals like my son, and my son in particular, there would be no place for him. In the state of Florida, there are no facilities for individuals who cannot be weaned from a vent, which is how Mike breathes. He would be forced into an institution, not even here in the state of Florida, but somewhere else in the country. His other option, and we have seen other individuals with vents who have been in hospitals and had nowhere for them to go. And this is at an extreme cost. My son doesn't want to live at our local hospital. He doesn't want to be out of state in an institution. He wants to stay at home, and we want him to be at home.
I'm scared. Scared of what could happen to me if Medicaid cut comes to pass in Florida. I'm scared because Florida is bent on doing so because they know the federal government won't stop them. Though I'm quite disabled, Medicaid services allow me to live a full, productive life, interacting with the community, being cared for at home. People with disabilities know happiness isn't guaranteed, but we want a shot at it just like anybody else.
Mike, thank you for sharing that. It's very eloquent.
Yeah, so the host was tearing up there at the end for understandable reasons. Look at those pictures and the video that came out early on in that segment there. There were disabled people protesting, begging to keep their health care outside of, like, Mitch McConnell's office. And the police, in some instances, pick them up out of their wheelchairs and drag them out. Think about how that would be viewed if that exact set of facts happened, that exact scenario happened in any other country that we view as an enemy country of ours. How would we describe those people? There's a great tweet about this. I forget who did it, so forgive me on that front, but it was like regime police drag out activists begging to stay alive or something like that. You know, that's effectively what's happening here. You're going to cut the health care of disabled poor people. And then when they go protest and say, hey, don't do that, the cops drag them out. Because God forbid, Mitch McConnell have to be in the view of the peasants. Ugh. We got to be more objective when it comes to our own country. Because again, if any other country, any other enemy country were to have the same set of facts, any other country, period, dragging out disabled people begging to keep their health care, cops doing that, we would say this is like the definition of barbarism. This is where we are. This is what we've come to. And then, of course, with this guy here, I mean, these are real people who are going to be affected. We're talking about over $800 billion in Medicaid cuts. That's real lives that are going to be affected. You know, if we were to prioritize where our tax dollars go, like number one on my list would be healthcare. But the Republicans are just like, yeah, let's just cut even the little bit we spend on healthcare, because, of course, we don't have a single-payer system. We have Medicare, which is single-payer for older people, Medicaid, single-payer for very poor people. But even that, they're like, let's cut it. No, not only do I not want to cut it, I want to expand it. I want more of my tax money to go to healthcare for people. Because that's like what a civilized society does. Nope, they want to cut it. And by the way, this was a very powerful and important segment that MSNBC did here. I want to give Ari Melber credit for this segment, because we go after these guys all the time when they do wrong stuff. This is them doing something right. So very important, and credit where credit is due. I just wish they would do similar segments for the 45,000 people that die every year because we don't have Medicare for all. So they have no problem bringing on people who are going to be adversely affected by these Medicaid cuts that the Republicans are pushing, which is great. I love that. That's wonderful. They have to do it. It's super important. This is them doing their job. But it's not like under Democratic governments, they drag out some of the family members of the 45,000 people that die because they don't have basic health care to talk about how the fact that we lack single payer sentenced their loved one to death. I just love to see that segment, because that segment is equally as important as this segment. And the only way we're going to actually get this policy in place is if everybody gets on the same page, everybody hammers it home, everybody forces the Democrats to the right position, and we can get a Medicare for all system through a populist uprising. So this is an important segment. It's a great segment. Credit to Ari Melber. Now let's see more segments like this and see them on the fact that we don't have single payer and we need it if we want people to not die because they don't have health care.